Hello, Legend of the Samurai here with the Assa Twin Maximum Plus. This is the current version of the Twin line, descended from the V10 series through the Pro and the Max lines. Uses the same side pins and sidebar. The difference between Maximum and Maximum Plus is the Plus has a much deeper undercut on the side, although that doesn't do too much to affect picking. But it is the current model, and this lock is brand new. It's also extraordinarily difficult to open for a number of reasons. I'll go into that in a bit more detail once I get it open, but see if I can do that first. Picking counterclockwise, and even though this is all barrel spools with matched countermilling at the beginning, they almost act tapered. In that I don't get a lot of crisp clicks out of most of the pins, even though I'm getting resistance and slowly lifting them up. You get a few clicks here and there as things make it to the milling. Okay, there's a false set, so now everything's in the milling, either the upper or lower, and all of my feedback is effectively gone. So what I'm going to do is lighten up on tension to the minimum possible amount, and then go through searching for the tiniest little bits of counter rotation as I push up on pin stacks. Because if you balance the tension just right, you can get feedback, and with barrel spools, and with this lock in particular, if you try to use a lot of tension, the pins will lock up and you will get nothing but broken picks. Okay. There I fell into a deeper false set, which means I have cleared the top pins, And now I can go to work on the sidebar. I'll be using a trick that works very well if you have very high sidebar milling. It can work with lower stuff too, but it involves taking a half diamond and just going straight in along under that undercut and sort of pushing as well as lifting to set. It can work on lower cut pins as well, you just have to rotate the pick in. So these front three like to bounce back and forth. I think I've got those, so then I missed one. There we go. Open. All right, there we are. Open. Lock it back up. And now I can take it apart. That off, and I'll actually take the drivers out through the top because it has a nice sliding cover. All right, so now we get to the first quirk, which is that as this sits here, only the driver came out of that first chamber. And I actually have to rotate the plug slightly. Key in for this. I have to rotate the plug slightly to get the key pin to fall out. And I'll get the rest of these pins out and then show why that is the case. And for the middle two chambers, or the lowest height key pins, it doesn't always happen. But what's going on, it'll be very difficult to see in there, but the plug actually sits slightly off-center. It's rotated ever so slightly counterclockwise, just based on where the sidebar is resting in its groove. So there's a tiny little lip where the key pins are getting caught, but it's not significant enough that if you put a driver and a spring on top of it, it will push the driver past that lip. So it's just an added step that you have to pick things past, which takes a bit of extra force or counter-rotation. There's our housing, our sidebar groove, and here is our sidebar. You can see profiling there. Keep track of our sidebar springs. All right, there is our plug. That's where the sidebar goes. That's where the side pins go. And there you can see that very deep undercut, which makes this a maximum plus. And here we have our barrel sharp milling up at the top. And it is extraordinarily effective. Picking counterclockwise, you end up fighting that extra little lip from where the sidebar wants to position the plug. But once you've managed to pick the top pins, the sidebar isolates from that, and that's why I chose to do it in that direction, even though picking the top pins is harder in that direction. If I had chosen to pick clockwise, I run into a very different problem, which is that the barrel spools act very, very tapered, and I can't even get anything to the milling before you hit the sidebar. And so it's like dealing with a sidebar in the middle of tapered pins. So you pick everything up to a certain point, and then you can lift one side pin, one gate, and that acts to drop all of the tapered progress. So then you pick them all back up, and then you move one more gate. And with a bidding this high, you would have to repeat that process 14 times in order to get past that, and no amount of forcing tension will get around that. So this particular lock is just impractical to pick in that direction. All right, so here is one of our side pins. They have the false gates, and then one deeper true gate, and then they have these profiled sections that interact with the key. In this particular lock, all of them are in the aft position. Some of them could be centered, some of them could be fore, but this one just happens to be all aft. And we have our absolutely normal standard key pins. In some Assa locks, you'll find the torpedo pins, like the 700, but this lock doesn't need them. These overset just fine. And then we have our normal barrel spools, which are nice and sharp, and they grab that milling in a couple of steps. And it is extremely effective. All right, so there we are, the Assa Twin Maximum Plus. These newer twins are very, very difficult to pick, and so if you're looking for a challenge, these are worth getting. Note, however, that there is also a line called the Maximum Plus Restricted, which is available significantly more cheaply, and they're more widely available than these are. They do not have a sidebar, because they are not designed for high-security applications. They don't have the UL mark, so if you want to find one, make sure it's a Twin Maximum Plus, and you'll probably need to get it straight from an Assa dealer rather than from the used market. The Maximum Plus Restricted has the same barrels and barrel milling on the top, and they even use the same keys, so if you want an exercise for just the top pins, those will work, but if you want the full experience, you'll need to look a little harder and source an actual Twin Maximum Plus. Go close on this one more time. we are. Twin Maximum Plus picked and gutted. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.